If the gift taught how value may be given without display, the seed asks the next necessary question. How does what is given continue when the giver is no longer arranging every moment? That is the seed. A gift makes value shareable. A seed makes value generative. This matters because the seed is not the finished form of what was given. It is what remains, capable of further life. So to place a seed into the earth is not to complete the work. It is to release it into another order of process. Care has not ended, but possession has. And what comes next will begin out of sight. The seed is one of the oldest images of hidden beginning. Its visible form is small, closed, still, contained. Nothing on its surface announces root, stem, fruit, shade, or future field. That is part of its instruction. The visible form is modest. The possible unfolding is not. We often misread beginnings for this reason. We expect importance to arrive already enlarged, already legible, already wearing the shape of its later consequence. But the seed does not display what it may become. It carries more than its surface can declare. And yet the seed is not empty. That matters. Because the seed does not teach fantasy. It does not ask you to imagine life where there is no living order. Within the seed, something has been gathered and held. Not a finished tree in miniature, not a completed future waiting in secret. A beginning, a real capacity for continuation under fitting conditions. This is why the seed must be read with precision. Its inner face is not certainty, and it is not nothing. It is possibility held in reserve. What comes forth will come from the seed, but not from the seed alone. Soil will matter. Water will matter. Warmth will matter. Season will matter. Time will matter. The seed carries direction. It does not carry a guaranteed outcome. A seed can be real before anything visible appears. That matters. Because the seed teaches a quieter kind of hope than fantasy usually does. It asks for a hope narrow enough to stay truthful and steady enough to remain when nothing has yet broken the surface. The seed teaches that possibility may be real before form is visible. That is a smaller thing than certainty, but it is not a small thing. And often, the beginning of truthful hope is found there. Not in claiming the harvest too soon, but in recognizing that a living beginning may already be present. This is why the seed belongs not only to the field, but to the inner life. A word may be given in seed form, so may a warning, a discipline, a protection, an image, a phrase heard too early to be fully understood, an act of trust received before its use becomes clear. Not everything valuable changes the surface at once. A person may receive something real and still appear unchanged. that does not always mean the gift was empty. Sometimes what is given must remain quiet until life provides the conditions in which it can open. Some things are planted before they are recognized, and some things are recognized before they can yet be lived. Yet not every seed belongs in every place. That is not a harsh lesson. It is a precise one. One seed asks one depth, another asks another. One can endure colder ground, another waits for warmth. One opens in one season, another would be strained there. So too with guidance, practice, language, trust, and truth. A true thing may still be wrongly placed, or offered at the wrong hour, or given into conditions too crowded, too wounded, too hurried, or too defended to receive it yet. This is why discernment is kinder than impatience. The question is not only whether something is valuable. The question is whether it can live here, now, in this way. To plant a seed is to lose sight of it. The visible act is brief. A hand lowers, the earth closes, the surface is smoothed. Then nothing more can be seen. But this is not the end of the act. It is the beginning of a hidden interval. And the hidden interval matters because control recedes there. Responsibility does not disappear. To plant is to release control without abandoning care. The seed disappears from view. The relationship does not. We are often tempted to trust only what can already be shown. The seed corrects this gently. Much can be real before it becomes visible. Moisture may enter. The shell may soften. Inner process may begin under a surface that still looks unchanged. Hidden does not always mean absent. That is one of the seed's great instructions. And this is true in persons as well. Understanding may be forming before it is speakable. Trust may be returning before it is confident. Language, discipline, or courage may be gathering inwardly before there is enough strength for outward use. The eye may call this nothing, but the deeper reading is more patient. Something may be underway before there is proof fit for display. Still, hiddenness must be read carefully. Not every silence carries the same meaning. Sometimes hiddenness is gestation. Sometimes delay. Sometimes blockage. Sometimes rest. Sometimes loss. So patience is needed. But so is attention. The task is not to force an answer before its time, nor is it to romanticize every delay as though all darkness were secretly growth. The task is to remain awake enough to notice what kind of hiddenness is actually present. Discernment does not injure hope. It helps keep hope truthful. Growth does not arise from the seed alone, and it does not arise from the ground alone. It comes through a meeting. That is the law. Soil matters. Moisture matters. Warmth matters. Air matters. Depth matters. Season matters. Room to root matters. These are not decorative extras. They belong to the event itself. Potential becomes visible through relationship. This too has its inward parallel. A person may carry a real seed of insight and still lack language around it, or time, or safety, or example, or steady practice, or the human company in which a new form of life can be tried without immediate collapse. Potential is relational. That is humbling. And it is also merciful. Care can fail by absence. It can also fail by excess. This is one of the seed's more difficult lessons. Water can nourish. Water can also overwhelm. Protection can shelter. Protection can also interfere with the very contact a living thing requires. A gardener who digs every morning to check for progress does not become more loving by that act. The roots are not strengthened by repeated interruption. Care becomes pressure when it demands visible proof on its own schedule. What began as concern may slowly become control. The seed therefore asks something difficult of the loving hand. Remain near enough to tend. Remain far enough not to crush. Right tending is neither passivity nor force. It is disciplined participation. The gardener prepares the ground, watches the weather, adjusts the water, protects where protection is needed, removes what chokes, waits when waiting is required, acts again when action becomes possible. Attention remains active. Ownership of the outcome does not. This is difficult because it asks us to remain responsible without pretending sovereignty. We can prepare conditions. We cannot command life to appear. There is humility in that sentence, and relief in it too. Sometimes the truest form of help is to make room, keep watch, and continue faithfully. Under fitting conditions, a change begins that the old boundary cannot finally contain. The shell softens, pressure rises from within. What once kept the seed intact can no longer remain its permanent form. From the outside, this may look like breaking, but the lesson asks to be read with care. The seed does not teach us to praise harm. It teaches us that some boundaries serve life for a time, and then must yield when life is ready to continue beyond them. The former boundary is not despised. It served its hour. But some forms are meant to guard life only until the moment life must move further. And the first movement is often not upward. It is downward. That matters because we are easily deceived by visibility. Before there is a stem to admire, there is a search for contact. Before there is visible ascent, there is a movement toward hold, nourishment, and anchoring. Roots are often growing before there is anything to show. This has great symbolic dignity. In persons, foundations may be forming before confidence appears. Language may be organizing before speech becomes clear. Trust may be repairing before warmth returns to the face. Discipline may be taking shape before achievement becomes visible. The eye is often impatient with this stage, but the eye is not the only witness. Some of the deepest progress is hidden because it is structural. At last, something appears above the ground. A small shoot, a pale curve, a first green sign that what was hidden has entered relation with light. This moment deserves joy and proportion. The shoot is not the finished tree. It is not the orchard, not the harvest, not the proof that every danger has passed. It is evidence. The hidden process has taken hold strongly enough to become visible. Beginnings deserve protection precisely because they are not finished. A wise eye rejoices in the shoot without asking it to be the forest. Bring this inward for a moment. Try to remember something once given to you that made little sense at first, but later became usable. It may have been a sentence, a warning, a habit, a protection, a kindness, a demand that once felt premature, a form of language you could not yet inhabit when you first received it. Ask quietly, what was planted? What conditions allowed it to open? What might have harmed it if it had been forced too early? And is there something in you, even now, that needs tending rather than interrogation? Not every living thing responds well to being pulled into the light before its roots are ready. Some parts of a life are strengthened not by more pressure, but by right conditions, truthful attention, and enough time for hidden structure to become strength. When a seed grows, it does not preserve its origin by remaining identical to it. It preserves direction by changing form. That is the law of living transmission. The seed becomes root, stem, leaf, blossom, fruit, and further seeds. Continuity remains. Sameness does not. This is true of teachings as well. A teaching may preserve its law while changing its language. A practice may preserve its purpose while changing its form. A living inheritance remains recognizable, but it must also be able to enter new ground, new seasons, new mouths, new hands, and new hours. Otherwise, it is not growing. It is only being stored. We began with a hand opening. We end with the recognition that what was released may now participate in futures the giver may never see. The seed may become nourishment, or shelter, or medicine, or shade, or beauty, or further seeds carried beyond the first field into places no first gardener will walk. This is why the seed matters. It reveals that a worthy gift is larger than the moment of offering. The gift has entered time. What was once placed into another life in small form may continue beyond sight, beyond authorship, beyond immediate return, and beyond the need to remain unchanged in order to remain true. So the hand opens, the earth receives, the hidden interval begins. And somewhere beyond the first act of giving, another form of life may one day open too.